at it again. So recently, Charles Barkley did a sit down with Dan Patrick, and they were talking about LeBron's decision. And at the time, funny enough, Charles Barkley was in Philadelphia. All right, but he doubled down this time. So take a listen to what Charles had to say to Dan Patrick here.
You were on with Stephen A. Smith. That's why I thought you had a problem that LeBron's always stacking his teams.
Yeah, that's been one of my most people criticize him for that. He always stacks his team.
But what's wrong with wanting to build a team that can win a championship or going to?
First of all, let's see. There you go. He didn't build a team. He
built a team in Los Angeles. They were bad before he got there.
And his agency forced them to trade for Anthony Davis, who was ran by his group.
Okay, but he didn't go to a team that was stacked.
No, he did. Listen, Anthony Davis, everybody in the league would have wanted Anthony Davis.
Rich Paul is back on his podcast taking low blows at NBA Hall of Famer Charles Barkley. Barkley called out LeBron James for manufacturing artificial super teams and ring chasing his entire career. Instead of addressing the facts, Rich Paul threw shade at guys without rings. The desperation from Klutch Sports to control this media narrative is reaching unprecedented levels. Is Charles Barkley right that LeBron James manufactured super teams his whole career? Or do you side with Rich Paul's defense? Let me know in the comments below.
Yeah, that's been one of my most people criticize him for that. He always stacks his team.
But what's wrong with wanting to build a team that can win a championship or going to?
First of all, let's see. There you go. He didn't build a team. He
built a team in Los Angeles. They were bad before he got there.
And his agency forced them to trade for Anthony Davis, who was ran by his group.
Okay, but he didn't go to a team that was stacked.
No, he did. Listen, Anthony Davis, everybody in the league would have wanted Anthony Davis. Plus, specifically said he has to go to the Lakers. That's a fact.
Look, Charles Barkley hit the nail on the head, and Klutch Sports is absolutely panicking. Every single time a real basketball legend steps up and speaks plain English about LeBron James's career roadmap, the Klutch Sports spin machine immediately kicks into high gear. Recently, NBA Hall of Famer Charles Barkley sat down with Dan Patrick while hanging out in Philadelphia. Dan Patrick brought up Barkley's recent appearance on Stephen A. Smith's show, where Barkley called out LeBron for constantly stacking the deck. Dan tried to play the typical media defense attorney, asking what could possibly be wrong with wanting to build a championship team.
Everybody wanted Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis specifically said, because of Klutch, I will only go to the Lakers. So you think that's naturally organic? No, that is stacking your team.
But that's LeBron's power.
Oh, okay. And
he deserves that credit that guys want to play with him.
And we can't criticize it if we think it's unfair?
What's unfair about wanting to go better your life?
No. You shouldn't be guaranteed a championship. One of the reasons Michael Jordan is the GOAT.
Barkley stopped him right in his tracks and cleared up the confusion immediately. Barkley pointed out that LeBron didn't build anything organically. He manufactured a situation in Los Angeles after the Lakers were bad for years, and then his agency forced New Orleans to trade Anthony Davis specifically to LA. Klutch Sports explicitly made it clear to the entire league that Anthony Davis would only sign long-term with the Lakers, essentially hijacking the process and bullying the market. Barkley didn't stop there. He laid out the contrast between manufactured ring chasing and real, authentic greatness. Michael Jordan got beaten down by the bad boy Pistons year after year, but he didn't run away to join Isaiah Thomas or Dominique Wilkins. He hit the weight room, got stronger, and beat them. Dirk Nowitzki stayed in Dallas through heartbreaks until he won in 2011. Steph Curry stayed in Golden State, built a core alongside Klay Thompson and Draymond Green from scratch, and turned a lottery franchise into a multi-time champion.
Yeah, I'm not mad at LeBron, but I could, I'm not going to do the Stepford wife thing like all LeBron and his friends do. Like these guys on television now. Like, I don't want to upset LeBron because I wanted him to talk to me and I wanted him to do interviews. Like, if you don't, like, LeBron's a great dude too. But the people around him, and now guys on television, they're like Stepford wives. It's like, you have to say LeBron's the greatest ever.
Barkley also exposed how modern sports media personalities act like Stepford wives around LeBron. These TV hosts are terrified of speaking the truth because they are afraid LeBron won't do interviews with them or give them access. They treat any basic critique of LeBron as if it were treason. Naturally, Rich Paul heard Barkley's comments and rushed to fire back on his own platform alongside Max Kellerman and Shams Charania. In an article covering Rich Paul's response to ring-chasing criticisms on Basketball Forever, Rich Paul attempted to brush off Barkley's points by acting confused. Rich Paul sneered and said, "What are you supposed to chase? Aluminum cans? It's confusing when you see players talk about stacking a team or ring chasing, especially guys who don't have any rings." Think about how arrogant and dismissive that response is. Instead of addressing Barkley's actual argument about manufacturing super teams, Rich Paul resorted to ring-counting taunts. Taking a shot at Charles Barkley, one of the 50 greatest players in basketball history, just because Chuck didn't win a ring while competing against Michael Jordan's Bulls is the ultimate cop-out. And notice how quiet Rich Paul gets when big media names fire actual rockets at his client. Rich Paul has endless energy to respond to Charles Barkley or throw subtle shade at independent creators. But where was this same energy for Chael Sonnen when he dropped massive allegations about LeBron's physical regimen? Where was this energy for Clay Travis, Patrick Bet-David, Donald Trump, or Skip Bayless? Rich Paul ignores them and picks fights with analysts or legends who dare to mention the word super team. Let's look at the actual statistics and historical facts to see whether Barkley is right about LeBron manufacturing stacked teams. When LeBron left Cleveland in 2010 to form the Heatles in Miami, he joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. In 2010, Dwayne Wade was coming off a season where he averaged 26.6 points, 6.5 assists, and 4.8 rebounds per game. Chris Bosh was coming off a season averaging 24.0 points and 10.8 rebounds. LeBron himself was the reigning MVP, averaging 29.7 points per game. That was 3 prime All-NBA players in their absolute physical primes teaming up in a weak Eastern Conference. When Miami's core wore down in 2014, LeBron headed back to Cleveland. Why? Because Cleveland had young all-star point guard Kyrie Irving, who was averaging 20.8 points and 6.1 assists, plus the #1 overall draft pick, which they immediately flipped for Kevin Love. Love was coming off a monster season in Minnesota, where he averaged 26.1 points and 12.5 rebounds per game. When Cleveland ran out of assets in 2018, LeBron moved to Los Angeles. Within 12 months, Klutch Sports manipulated the market so Anthony Davis could force his way out of New Orleans. Davis was averaging 25.9 points, 12.0 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks per game. Now, in 2026, at 41 years old, LeBron moves to the Philadelphia 76ers. He joins former MVP Joel Embiid, who averaged 33.1 points per game in his MVP year, All-Star Tyrese Maxey, who averaged 25.9 points per game, and Finals MVP Jaylen Brown. According to statistical profiles on Basketball Reference's LeBron James career teammate stats, LeBron has played alongside more prime All-Stars and top 10 draft picks than any player in NBA history. Yet Rich Paul wants us to believe LeBron was just trying to put himself in a position to win, like an average employee looking for a promotion. Even Max Kellerman had to push back against Rich Paul on their podcast. Max pointed out to Rich Paul's face that LeBron wasn't just joining teams organically. He was actively orchestrating these setups before stepping foot in the building. During that same broadcast, Rich Paul tried to claim LeBron doesn't make any demands when he joins a franchise. He claimed LeBron just comes as himself. But as detailed in an article on Yardbarker covering Charles Barkley's critique of Klutch Sports, Barkley highlighted how Klutch Sports bullies front offices into making trades that suit LeBron's immediate timeline, regardless of the long-term health of the franchise. Look at what happened in Los Angeles. The Lakers gave up Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks for Anthony Davis. Ingram became an all-star in New Orleans, averaging 23.8 points per game. The Lakers won 1 bubble title in 2020, but over the next 5 years, they posted a postseason record of 16 wins and 26 losses. When the roster ran out of depth, LeBron picked up his bags and moved on to Philadelphia. During the podcast rant, Charles Barkley made another sharp point about the upcoming season. Dan Patrick suggested LeBron's move to Philly was his best chance to win a title. Barkley disagreed completely, stating that if LeBron wanted a better basketball fit, returning to Cleveland with their established young core would have given him a stronger squad in the East. Barkley also brought up serious health concerns that the media is ignoring regarding the 76ers. LeBron has missed significant games in recent seasons due to foot, ankle, and groin injuries. Joel Embiid has never played a fully healthy postseason run in his entire career due to knee surgeries and facial fractures. Expecting a 42-year-old LeBron and an injury-prone Embiid to cruise through a grinding 82-game schedule plus 4 rounds of playoffs is a massive gamble. And let's address something funny that happened on Rich Paul's video. While watching these Klutch Sports podcasts, whether it's Mind the Game with JJ Redick, Steve Nash, or Max Kellerman, it is amazing how these guys love to preach community empowerment. Yet whenever they set up their big media productions, they surround themselves with media personalities who never challenge them. They bring in hosts who nod along to every sentence. When Charles Barkley or an independent creator pushes back with actual facts, Klutch Sports gets defensive. As highlighted in a tweet reposted on Twitter discussing Charles Barkley versus Rich Paul, basketball fans overwhelmingly agree with Barkley. Fans are tired of the gaslighting. They see the pattern. Form a super team, win a ring, exhaust the draft assets, blame the coach or teammates when losing, and jump to the next stacked roster. Charles Barkley called out the Stepford Wives media for a reason. Modern television networks spend hours praising LeBron for leading the league in fast break points while ignoring tracking data that shows him ranking near the bottom in transition defense. They praise his total counting stats while ignoring that his team went 33-49 in 2022 and got swept in 2023. When Rich Paul asks, "What are you supposed to chase? Aluminum cans?" he completely misses the point. Nobody criticizes a player for wanting to win. Fans criticize a player who claims to be the undisputed GOAT over Michael Jordan, yet needed 4 different franchises, 8 prime all-star co-stars, and constant market manipulation to accumulate 4 rings. Michael Jordan won 6 titles with one team, never went to a Game 7 in the finals, and never had to run to another superstar city to get it done. Dirk Nowitzki won in 2011 by beating LeBron's stacked Heatles with Jason Terry and Tyson Chandler. Giannis Antetokounmpo stayed in Milwaukee and won a title in 2021. Steph Curry won 4 rings in Golden State. Rich Paul can throw all the cheap shots he wants at Charles Barkley's lack of a championship ring. But Chuck's analysis remains 100% accurate. LeBron James built a career on manufacturing super teams, and no amount of podcast spin from Klutch Sports can rewrite that history. Charles Barkley spoke the absolute truth, and Rich Paul's defensive response proved just how much the criticism stings. If you agree with Chuck that manufacturing super teams isn't organic greatness, hit that like button right now. Make sure to subscribe to the Dreamers Pro Show for more real basketball talk every single week. Appreciate you watching, and see you next time.